So the pyjama works that you see here, they're coming firsthand from my memory, being a child in Beirute during the Civil War. And to be able to help me go to bed, my mom, she let me make a hole in my pyjama, and then as I was wearing it, and then stitch it back. And this act became like a ritual, and it kind of helped me calm down so I could go to bed. You're always scared from the bombings, from the dangers of the war. Usually bedtime is like a time where you can be in peace, but when you grow up in the war, bedtime is a time where you are very close to death. So it makes you anxious, and you'll have to find ways to go through that. So in that sense, there was a time I started to make those holes again, but I also decided to keep them open. It's also a way to not close that wound, because also the war keeps its traces with you forever. And also, as you know, our history in Lebanon is like the war is very actual. It's not like past even. So as you know, I mean, as we talk now, there's all these dangers are very actual. In that sense, this pyjama work brings me back to my childhood, but also connects with today, with what's happening. Also, the war causing many of us for exile. For example, also some of these pyjamas are mine, for my daughter, but also I invited women who live in the Netherlands and who have a migrational background and experience to contribute to this work. So also many of them, they gave their pyjamas, they made stitches and holes in them. And it was also amazing to talk together while I was making this work. For each one of us, making those holes, stitching it, what it meant. And also it's a way to go through the trauma, but also the act of stitching, making holes, stitching around them. It's really bonds people, I think. Embroidery can bond people together, but also there's a lot of tenderness at the same time. You know, you feel it in your fingers, you hear the sound of the thread. It's very calming. Sleeping is a ritual. You prepare for sleeping, right? And as I said, usually, in the usual time, sleeping is like a rest time. But in the wartime, sleeping is the time where you're very close to death, because you could get a bomb at any time and you could, you know, be killed. So the lullaby also is part of this sleeping ritual, right? You wear a pyjama, your mom is singing for you as a child, and then, you know, you get like some hair soothing and so on. One of the songs we have in Arabic, it's like يلا تنام يلا تنام لا تبح لك طير الحمام روح يا حمام لا تصدق. But so in a way it's very aggressive, because the mom is singing, go to bed, I'm gonna slaughter the pigeon for you. No, don't believe that, dear pigeon. I'm just laughing at my child so she can sleep, or they can sleep. So this like aggression in the song is also outstanding, I think. But of course, she will not kill the pigeon for it. In any case, for me, it's about not being able to sleep. So I took the words of that very sang song, familiar lullaby, and I changed it into Ya Hamam Yalla Ma Tnam Ma Tnam, dear pigeon, don't sleep, don't sleep. So in a way also alluding to this sleepless nights and the inability to sleep, or even the fear of every child in the war to lose their parents. For example, for me as a child, I would rather die killed with my parents than survive as an orphan. This was like the most intense fear I had, and I bet many children have that. And I mean, today, with all what's happening in the world, in our region, how many children have been orphaned today in Gaza, for example? It's something that is really actual, ongoing in Lebanon, in the whole region. But when I started to do this work, it was in the summer of 2023, I think. But earlier I had started to make a tent, to make my own holes, stitch around them. And then we had this August 4 explosion in Lebanon, where it was so massive. In a few seconds, you could see, as if for me, the civil war passed, all these 15 years passed in a few seconds. And I really had to do something about it, to pull myself out of this dark hole. It took me like 5-6 months to recover, at least. I mean, it's still very actual, because a lot of the people, all the victims didn't get the justice yet also. So at that time, I started to think, what if I do the holes directly in the pajamas? All this act for me is a way to try to deal with those ongoing wars. At the same time, I think it's a poetical intervention on how I could deal with all these issues. And also it's about songs, lullabies, languages, exile, colonial powers and so on. And that's also why you have those lullabies sang in many languages.